Welcome today to the topic for the Holistic Chamber of Commerce's Community Education Panel. And today we're talking about healing the subconscious mind. There's so much richness to this topic, and so we're going to dive in here pretty quickly. But I do want to first let you know who the Holistic Chamber of Commerce is, in case you have not seen us or know much about us. We have been in the Southwest Florida area now since June of 2018. Ms. Lainey Savante Wilkin, would you raise your hand, Lainey? Lainey is our president and founder, and I am Deb Martine. I'm with Lotus Blossom Clinic, and I am so delighted to be the vice president in Fort Myers. And as an ex-corporate educator and anything that would be useful and wonderful for people to know, I just love doing these. So thank you for joining us and being open to learning today. We have also unity to be thankful for. So Barb, would you raise your hand? Barb is here, is one representative of Unity who graciously allow us to use this beautiful facility. Thank you. And services tomorrow at 10 a.m., right? Okay. They have ladies' teas here and all sorts of great things. I was here last Saturday speaking about chocolate, and I see Pam is back. Okay. And then there's Zeta Global Radio. So there is the opportunity to go online and hear brilliant interviews with Miss Lainey Savante Wilkin and all kinds of people, including Greg Braden and some local people as well. So she is very much involved in everything going on here. Also, Intuitive Wisdom is a spiritual recording label that is centered out of Pine Island, and that is Lainey and her husband, Howard Wilkin. An amazing place to go and visit and to record. So several of us on this panel have been on recordings, and you will see some of them over on the table with the yellow cloth. So I encourage you to check that out. They're all available too under the Gulf Coast Meditations heading, and they're on all of the digital platforms where you would typically seek them. So I encourage you to look there for 5 and 10-minute meditations primarily. And let's see, we have also Muscle Tuners International. There's Muscle Tuners International right here with us today. Welcome, Heather Phillips. So all of these people help to allow us with some additional funding and heavy amounts of background kinds of labor to make these things really go off smoothly. And of course, Natural Awakenings. So we have ads in Natural Awakenings every month. You can watch for us. All of our activities are going to be in there every month. And of course, we have a Facebook presence, big time. And if you look up the Holistic Chamber of Commerce in Fort Myers, for example, you will find what's going on here. Okay? And I think that's pretty much it on the thanks. I do want to let you know how we proceed here. We are being videotaped, and that's going to be on YouTube. It's called HCCSWFL. So in about, 10 days time or so is often the typical amount for it to come up. So if you really loved what you saw here, or you missed something and you want to rewind, or you say, oh my goodness, my neighbor Sally really needs to hear this, you can find us on the HCCSWFL YouTube channel.
Deb?
Yes?
When you go on the YouTube channel, if you subscribe with the little bell you click, you will be automatically notified. You won't have to wonder when the next video is up. If you subscribe, you will always be shown and notified when our panels hit the airwaves. Just a little FYI there.
Okay, thank you. Yes. And another thing to note, since we are the videotape is right there. So at this point, some heads may be in the background, but maybe not even that. So if you do have a question, because we want you to be interactive with these beautiful, wonderful people up here giving their time, and I'm so honored to be with each of you. Each one has deep, rich backgrounds. These are highly educated women. They have been practicing in their fields for decades, and they have so much to share. So I'm honored to be here doing this. And when we have Q&As, raise your hand if you can, and speak up as best you can, because we'd like to have that be a part of the videotaping. I will do my best to rephrase the questions or repeat them and make sure that everyone's questions get answered. At the end, we're going to have booth time. So we'll let you have about 20, 30 minutes of time at the end. You can go and meet with each of these individual ladies individually, and they will have specials and things. So that's the structure for how we work today. So any questions before we dive in and find out who is up here on the panel? Okay, all right. Well, we're going to go from, I'm going to go from left to right here with Kandy Love. That's your right to my left, sorry. I'm not a good yoga instructor yet, Kandy. Maybe someday I will become one. Kandy Love is a licensed massage therapist. She's a PhD as well. She's an energy and emotional healer. And these are things that people may not always know about Kandy, that she does some work that is well beyond the strict physical nature, even though she's amazing there as well. Kandy is a published newspaper, magazine, and book writer, as well as an international recording artist. She opened the first holistic healing center here in Lee County in 1990. Isn't that amazing? With a PhD in natural health, certification in yoga teaching and yoga therapy, plus licensing in massage therapy, Kandy's areas of expertise include the use of touch and movement and joy through expanded states of consciousness for body, mind, and heart healing. Her vision is a world where everyone feels comfortable, strong, and magical in her or his own skin. Kandy is a professional founding member of the Fort Myers Holistic Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Kandy. And next to the amazing Kandy is the amazing Cheryle Freedman. Cheryle is a past life archeologist. And if you don't know what that is, you will be finding out soon. She is a licensed clinical social worker, holds a doctor of psychology in hypnotherapy and counseling, is a certified hypnotherapist as well. She is trained in past life regression and traumatic incident reduction. Cheryle conducted trauma therapy with sexually abused children for 12 years and was admitted to the Schenectady County Family Court as an expert witness in sexual abuse treatment. She is a professional founding member of the Cape Coral Holistic Chamber of Commerce. Welcome, Cheryle. And next to me over here, Denise Schubert, an ordained New Thought minister. During the past 17 years, Denise Schubert has been an ordained minister and is still and has served the Agape International Center, Centers for Spiritual Living, and Unity Ministries. She is, in her own words, a purveyor of possibility. With the ability to simplify complex philosophical ideas, Denise has committed her life to the raising of consciousness in the individual, believing that awakened individuals inherently serve the vision of a healthy, peaceful, and united world. Welcome, Denise. And Patti is going to really wrap things up here for us at this moment, and we're going to go the opposite direction when we're asking questions, so this is going to be fun. Or is that too? No. We did decide to do the opposite direction, so we're good. We're going to stay this way. Patti Wilson, the spiritual coach. She is a Theta Healer and teacher. And wow, how many people have you taught here? I haven't kept count, but it's a lot around the world as well. Patti has a master's in counseling psychology, as well as a master's in adult education. She served for 25 years as a psychotherapist and has now gone on beyond and incorporated Theta Healing into her practice. She is certified in both basic and advanced levels as a Theta Healing practitioner and is also certified to teach and certify practitioners at both the basic and advanced levels. Welcome, Patti.
Thank you.
Okay, so we have a few questions for the audience, and we have 3 questions. We'll also be finding out at the end what the booth opportunities are. So at the end of the questions, if you have a question for a specific person, please raise your hand. Otherwise, I'll probably check in with everyone at the end of each person answering the question. So the questions involve defining it, talking about how to identify the issues, and how to approach the actual healing. So those are our questions in short, just to give you some trajectory of where we're going. So let's begin by identifying or defining what is the subconscious mind? So we'll ask Kandy the question first. What is it? How do you define that part of the way our humanness works beneath the realm of the thinking mind's control? And then part B, and I'll probably remind everyone of the part B, how does the subconscious drive behavior and or reactions to certain situations, and how does it manifest? So what is it, Kandy?
One of these simple questions we'll start with here. So the way that I see our being is integrated. So when we talk about the mind, it's not separate from the body. When we talk about levels of mind, it's actually going to be reflected in the body. So if we talk about the awakening mind, the one where, you're all sitting here with right now, nobody has closed their eyes to go to sleep, which would be a different state, that we have different states that we're aware. And so we bring our days, unawareness when we wake in the morning, and then we have different functioning throughout the day, and then at night we go to sleep again. So through that, and assuming that you're all here, know a little bit about altered states of consciousness. Altered states of consciousness. We have a nod that word is several words, little bit. Okay, and there's some no's. So that's why you're here, is at that broad range. So basically that we move around during the day of what our awareness offers. The subconscious part, which is a word that has come to know that it's the one you're not aware of. Basically that means sub, under. But it's there all the time. It's just like, my example is that I had a cat attack this morning, and it's too long a story here, but when the incident happened, I had to look at what my reactions were, because it wasn't just about me and my cat, it was my cat in my home, but it was, had I had this before? What do I do? Do I have the parts to it? How do I feel? Do I need to go to the doctor? I mean, so all of those questions come out of an area that is not a checklist you carry around. It comes from a place within you. And so that could be called the subconscious. Now you take it one more level. Cut me off when I need to. I know there's a time thing.
No, go ahead.
Oh, there, you have
yes.
it. Good.
Yes.
Thank you. I just want to make that. So in the yoga world, they're called samskaras. It's a name for the state of unawareness. That when we bury something, we ignore it. And I actually wrote it down so I wouldn't have to remember everything that was this morning. Since I have an injury now, I can claim not as much memory. Samskara are the impressions and dispositions that develop and accumulate deep inside a person. Impressions, dispositions, from perceptions, inferences, choices, preparation, practices, interaction with others, thoughts, beliefs, intent, willful actions, and karma. In other words, it's a long source of things that we're not aware of that we carry around. So I kind of put that into the subconscious mind. Title. Stuff we're not aware of. What was part two?
Part two would be, how does the subconscious drive behavior and or reactions to certain situations? How does it manifest? I think you've actually covered it.
Yeah.
How it manifested for you this morning was a great experience to share.
Huge. And then I had to be here, which meant I had to get my things ready. And so there was this whole list of things that all of a sudden manifested that I would be affected by one thing. And so that changed how I thought. I didn't decide to change how I thought, but a whole tumble of things came up for me to deal with. Like, do I go? Will I be here? Well, that's a whole other story. The mind was having a play. And then, do I eat? Okay, do I want to digest food while I'm healing? And then and I'm right-handed, so I have a tendency to use and talk with my hands. So do I use it because it's got an interest? So all of those things just tumble out. And where were they? They're everywhere. They're in me somewhere, and then they come out. So that's kind of the category. Yeah?
Okay. Thank you. All right. And so we were off to a good start. Yay. Thank you, Kandy. Okay, Cheryle. Now, I'm sure you have a few 2 cents to add in here to this rich topic. Let's go.
Well, I love the way that Kandy described it, for one thing. My description, I guess I would have to say, is a little more clinical oriented because of working as a psychotherapist for many years, although I love the holistic stuff now. So that's why I'm here with this group. But I think that I was watching something recently on quantum physics, which we're not going to get into, but Dr. Joe Dispenza, who is a neuroscientist, and some of you are shaking your nose, he describes the brain as, I want to say it correctly here, the mind he describes as the brain in action. So I would actually take that one step farther and say the subconscious mind is that action on autopilot. And that's where we run into all of our problems with the subconscious mind, because those underlying beliefs do work on autopilot. Anyway, why I have a more clinical view is because, and this was very hard, Patti and I discussed this earlier. When you're into psychology and psychotherapy, you understand just how big a subject the subconscious mind is. It's huge. And I know when I was working on my doctorate, my focus was trauma and memory, as you store memories and how you retrieve them. And I mean, it took me 7 years part-time because I was working full-time. So there is so much information out there, and it's a lot, but we're going to try and make it really simple and not do the really complicated quantum physics stuff. So the second part of
The second part of the question, how does the subconscious drive behavior or the reactions to certain situations? How do you see it manifest?
Okay, well, I already alluded to that. It works on autopilot. And what do I mean by working on autopilot? It's a basic of psychology, and you can go check all the research yourself, although I had an opportunity when I was in grad school. My professor for abnormal psychology happened to run the stress and anxiety clinic at the University of Albany, and he actually would tell us about all the studies that they had going on in the clinic at that time. But what they discovered is that whatever thoughts a person has, either they know the thoughts or it's a thought that they don't know because it's out of conscious awareness, but that thought brings with it feelings. Those feelings actually push the person to do a certain action or have a certain reaction. So that's what I mean by autopilot. They come from underlying beliefs, and once you have a strongly held underlying belief, even if you don't know it's there, what happens is every time something is similar, oh, am I done? Am I 4 minutes? Okay, yellow. Every time something similar to that original thing that caused the belief to get started happens, you react in the same way. And over the years, every time something else is even similar, it packs it on and it packs it on. Your mind will look for, once it has a belief, it is going to look for ways to prove it true. So there's your problem with trying to change, but we're going to get into some of that in a little bit.
Wow, I love that it's so endemic in there and so hidden and so driving. Thank you. Thank you. Okay, Miss Denise, you've got a whole look at this as well. So
I do, and my look at it is really from a spiritual perspective and a quantum physical perspective as well. So
And let's put it up a little.
So we would
there.
say, I would say that as a New Thought minister, I come out of the science of mind background, or the Centers for Spiritual Living. So we believe that all of the manifested universe is a function of thought, both conscious thought and unconscious thought. So conscious thought, we won't talk about that right now, but that's really just the thinking mind. It's that part that is willful, that has volition, that decides, that commits, that has drive. But the subconscious mind is, as you said, as Cheryle said, that is really we're not aware of most of what's in there, but we do know the function it serves, and it serves two functions. One is, it is that which creates everything. And you know this because if you have prosperity issues, you're saying I'm abundant is not sufficient to fill your checkbook, right? That there's something else filling your checkbook or not filling your checkbook. So the subconscious mind, in addition to being the creative agency, that which creates, it also is a repository of all memory. Your personal memory, everything that's ever happened to you, anything that was said to you, any decisions you made. You know, when your mama told you to quit dancing on the table when you were 4 and you decided you weren't a good dancer, that got deposited in there, as well as the entire collective consciousness that we participate in. So the subconscious plays two roles. In Science of Mind, we would use an analogy that says seed, soil, plant. Seed is the conscious thought, the soil is the subconscious mind, and whatever happens out in the world in the manifested universe is the plant. So if you plant a carrot seed, you will get a carrot. The subconscious mind will create exactly what is planted into it. If you want a tomato instead of a carrot, you need to plant a tomato seed. So as and how the subconscious mind, Ernest Holmes used to say, he's the founder of Science of Mind, he would say, if you want to know what a person believes, just look at their life. That if you want to know what's in your subconscious, look into your life, and we all know. We have areas where we're strong, we have areas where we're weak, we have areas that we excel in, we have areas that are lifelong challenges, and what needs to be, well, we'll talk about healing the subconscious, but where the healing needs to happen is wherever it's showing up in a way that is impacting your happiness, your peace of mind, your effectiveness in the world, like what's going on. So seed, soil, plant, remember that, and we'll come back to it.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. Wow. Are you guys getting a little drift of the level that we've got up here? I mean, each of these women brings so much. It's just hard to encapsulate. And we're going to keep going for it because this begins the opening. Patti, how would you say you define the subconscious mind?
Well, I'm going to try and fill in some areas that haven't been discussed. I certainly probably am more aligned with Cheryle's definitions because we have similar background in psychology. But with Theta Healing, as I say, I was a psychotherapist for 25 years, and I worked with largely what I call the pre-conscious. The pre-conscious is that part of the subconscious that's just beginning to sort of stick its little nose into the room, just beginning to emerge. And it may be through a dream, and it may be through, you know, you have those days where you just go, I'm so sick of myself, like what am I doing? Or, you know, bad things are happening and you think, okay, I need to look at this, what's going on in my life? But it's an emerging, it's like a readiness to know but not quite knowing. And that's lovely for me to work with because I can usually, I'll get into that in a bit, but pull that out of you and find out what is it now that you're ready to look at, change, grow, evolve into. What else? Well, I believe that we do develop a lot of our beliefs in childhood, absolutely. That's probably, as a therapist, that's totally what I worked with. Those early 5 years, we have only the thinking brain of my dog. I could have brought her to demonstrate, but I didn't. But we're mammals, and we don't have this higher functioning neocortex up here. So we're really not terribly bright, but we're very clever. I mean, a 2-year-old or a 3-year-old has figured out how to make it in the world. They've developed personality. They know what the world's about, what they're about, what they need to do. Do I need to please people? Do I need to argue? Do I need to always win? And we develop these personalities really early. And that is, that's kind of the ground where the unconscious, we're not always thinking, you know, I need to win, for example, but that could be planted deep in our unconscious that if I need to survive and not die as a mammal, I need to win. And then you'll see those people, the God of winners, getting into trouble. But beyond sort of the here and now, this lifetime, we have past lives, I believe. We have, I know, I've seen many, I've been in many. Anyway, we have between lives. As our mind doesn't die, we just carry on and we're having life beyond this life, in between lifetimes. We also have beliefs that we develop genetically. They come from our forebears. I worked with a woman, a good example, whose grandmother was in the Holocaust, and she had just terrible anxiety. And it wasn't until I was doing theta healing and could pinpoint it that I could understand that it wasn't her belief, it was her grandmother's belief. So we have all these places, and 85% of our beliefs approximately are unconscious. So we've got this whole soup in there, right, that is driving our behavior. And most of it we're not aware of. It's fun being human, isn't it?
Yes, and you know that DNA piece, there is some real science about that now. I believe it's in the mammal world in experiments in the lab. Actual research studies, double-blind, placebo, all of the good stuff that talks and shows how the DNA can be transferred. Whatever happened, that emotion, that reaction, that belief can be transferred to later generations. It's really true. So
I never lie.
well, I didn't think so. Of course it's true. Patti said so. Okay. So any questions that have been raised out there by any of these thoughts presented up here? Yes, Abbas in the back.
You guys talking, mentioning about the subconscious, question was how that created the human being, when it's calm, and what is the job that subconscious do in us?
Okay, so you're asking what else is the job of the subconscious?
Correct.
Okay, so would any of you like to respond to that question? What is the job of the subconscious? Who feels called?
Okay, just off the top of my head. No, I'm kidding. Yeah, the subconscious does actually have a job, and because it works on that autopilot system, a lot of what happens, especially, I guess the best example would be if you take a trauma that happens to you. And everything about that trauma gets stored in your mind with everything that went along with it. The mind speaks in pictures and symbols, not words, but it also has feelings. And how that works is a picture of what actually happened puts itself into your mind, and then all the feelings that were connected with that, the taste, the smell, everything, all your senses are used, and then it's stored in your body like that. And what happens when something else triggers, something else is similar to what happened the first time, will trigger all those memories and feelings to come right back. That's why they're hard to get rid of. So we are going to be talking about how you get at that, but one of the subconscious mind's purposes is to protect you. So with trauma, again, how it protects you is when that information that comes in is too overwhelming for you to handle. It doesn't store that entire memory in one place. It separates out all those different things into different places so that you don't have to feel the overwhelming effect of what happened to you. However, when people develop PTSD, that's how you know that that's what's happened to you, because they can smell something that was identical or similar to what happened in that first incident, and all of the memories about that incident will come back to them as if it's happening right then at that time. So, you know, the short definition, I guess, or explanation is that it does have a protective feature, and it's normal for your subconscious to want to protect you from things that are overwhelming.
Very good, very good. Kandy, go ahead.
Well, survival was the word too, so correlating what Cheryle is saying. Also, it's not separate. I mean, there's a way we kind of make it like feel like another body, like there's a subconscious, that's a part of me, and it's over here, and then there's a conscious, and then there's an unconscious. And actually, it's all woven together, so it's like a hard drive. I'm not the great computer person, but I think that's the right word. It all goes into one place. And so by designating the different aspects of it, We're saying there's different aspects of the hard drive, and they're going to come up when they're needed, depending on what your situation. It's much like Cheryl's saying. I liken it to you come up to a stoplight, and you don't have to remember what the red and the yellow and the green mean, although I think some people need to be. But for the most part, not only is it a remembrance of what that means, but also what to do. And it's part of memory. I say it's all these intertwined things, so it's part of memory. But if you had an accident, you're going to also have that feeling that says, okay, do I need to respond a different way because now will somebody come? It makes us alert. So it comes into a lot of aspects of what we need to have as human beings. It's not something we want to get rid of. It's not like, oh, my subconscious. You know, it's not that entity that's so awful. It's actually a part of us that functions toward the survival, toward being able to function in the world with the ability to think and reflect upon ourselves. The difference of mammals and us, and we're mammals, is that they don't reflect about themselves for the most part, or other animals. We get to think about ourselves, that good news, bad news thing. So that idea of having the storehouse lets us reflect, lets us take in our lives and go, oh, I'm going to wear purple today. Why? Because that made me feel a certain way getting ready to be here, or I'm going to wear a particular piece of jewelry, or I'm going to eat a particular piece of food. Because each one of those choices is based on that whole hard drive that says, I'm a package of lots of pieces that need to function. Is that okay?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Great.
Okay.
That's wonderful.
Does that
And
answer your question?
it hopefully
The
gives
start.
a good start.
That's a
You know, it's like they've all said in one way or another, this is a big topic. But yes, a question, Celeste.
I've heard before that when people get massages, a lot of times memories come up, not from the brain or the head, but from different parts of the body. Is that valid?
That would be, of course, you're right on my topic, which is using the body for it. Everything's stored everywhere, but it's stored here, because this is it this time around. Now, we have energetic bodies that go beyond, but they're still going to be connected with this particular form. Once this form leaves, what we believe happens to all that storage is, okay. But right now, we're talking about what's stored here and how it's put together in that hard drive. So massage, movement, a song, you know, I mean, anything could bring up a memory. Touch is particularly important and valid in doing that because it validates us. It doesn't lie. I mean, this makes you remember you're real. It's not just the emotions. Absolutely. Again, it's a word choice. I don't know about bad memories. Okay, it's a fact if they're all memories, they're all stored, and there's a way to work with them. This is why you have 4 different people up here, 5 because Deb knows 2, and a lot of other people in the audience. We all have tools and techniques and approaches that would say, oh, this came up. Here's what I'll say, and each of us will talk about that, and you're going to sit there and go, oh, well, that one sounds good to me, and I'll go, no, okay, you got to be kidding me. You can't really talk to her because she's like so weird. But this one over here, and they're going to go, yeah, right. I mean, so it's that personal choice. So it depends on the therapist. It depends on the massage. It depends on what your intentions are. It depends on the tools. So yes, it's possible.
I have information that might help her. If you're interested in that, there's a therapist who has studied this for many, many years, Bessel van der Kolk. I don't know if you've heard of him, but he wrote a book called The Body Keeps the Score. And like Kandy says, these memories are stored all over the place, and he has actually done a lot of work with very traumatized children and dance and movement, and his belief, but what he's researched, is that it actually, the movement helps to reprocess those things. So there is a very good chance that movement or some kind of action like that could help to heal even traumatic type memories. But he's a good one to look up, and he's got a lot of free of his papers. If you look online under Bessel van der Kolk, you can access a lot of his work right online for free. You don't have to pay for it.
How do you spell that last name, Cheryl?
Okay, it's weird, and I'm trying to think, is he Norwegian or something? It's it's a little v, V-A-N. Then the next part of his last name is D-E-R, but that's separate from the V-A-N. Those are both with small letters. and then Kolk, capital Kolk.
Okay.
His first name is Bessel, and he did a lot of work with PTSD and veterans coming back from the war.
How do you spell Bessel?
Bessel.
All right, good. Well, and I think that there's some others to comment here.
Well, I love the question, what's the role of the subconscious? And I have a little bit different take on it, in that I like the word consciousness. I like the idea that I am a body of consciousness, and you are a body of consciousness, which includes your conscious mind and your subconscious mind. It's a totality of who you are, your history, like the whole thing. And we know that the conscious mind isn't the only thing at play here, or else every word you said, or every request you made, or every affirmation you spoke would come to pass. And it doesn't, right? I mean, billions of people have made billions of prayers and requests to end war and poverty and hunger, and there is not one person I've ever talked to who said, I don't want the world to be at peace, but the world's not at peace, so something else is at play here. So the subconscious is creative. It's a very creative aspect of our consciousness. So in order to shift the outer experience, we have to shift the inner experience. And it isn't just a conscious mind thing, it's a subconscious mind thing. So the tools and techniques need to get to that place, which we're going to talk about next. But I do want to say something about Bruce Lipton quickly, because we brought it up, that Bruce Lipton is a cellular biologist, and he's dealing with that we're not completely governed by our DNA alone. And he did these studies where he showed that negative thoughts, hateful thoughts, vengeful thoughts, sadness, released toxins into the body, which had a negative effect on the organs and the functioning of the body. And simultaneously, if you can just use your conscious mind to think more loving thoughts, more forgiving thoughts, more compassionate thoughts, that healing chemicals will get released into your body and have a positive effect on your health and well-being. And I find that study fascinating.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Can I just comment on that?
Yes, please.
I had Dr. Bruce Lipton on my show. I interviewed him, and so if everyone had signed in, I'll make sure you get a copy of that interview to listen to. He talks all about the harmony and disharmony of cells and epigenetics, and it was a fascinating interview. So we'll make sure everybody hears.
Zeta Global Radio has an interview with Dr. Bruce Lipton that discusses this. So those who are here will get that information, and the rest of you need to go find Zeta Global Radio and look up her interview with Dr. Bruce Lipton. Well, thank you. Boy, we're getting some, among others. Yes, among others. Some of them here up on the panel, too. Okay, and Miss Patti, would you like to respond as well?
Just briefly, I really believe that the purpose of our life is developmental, and it can be on the level of, children crawl before they stand and so forth. But I think spiritually we're developing. We're here to grow in love and to develop, raise our consciousness. And the subconscious holds everything. It's mysterious, clearly, but it holds everything that we need in order to unfold into who we're becoming. And I see that as valuable. It is very protective, of course, and it's a real pain a lot of the time because we're getting triggered around things we know or we wish we weren't getting triggered around and all that. But it pushes us to question ourselves and to have insight and to seek help, like the people on this panel, that can bring us to that next level. So I just wanted to add that.
Thank you. Thank you. Very good. As we start the next question, I just want to ask the audience, you out there, a question. What is it that you would like to shift? What would you like to heal? What if someone, for example, has MS? Can they reverse that? Is this possible? We know someone, a member of the Holistic Chamber of Commerce here in Southwest Florida, who did just that. How did she do it? She went to the Natural Awakenings magazine, and her mother hauled her every other day to someone for her to seek healing. She tried very different kinds of practices and modalities until she found the ones and it was multiples that worked for her. Things like acupuncture, massage, energy work, biofeedback. Those were some of them that I remember that she spoke about. So yes, so think about it. What is it that you might want to have reversed, or for a loved one, someone with cancer? Is it possible that the mind, the subconscious mind, could play a role here? Well, you know what I think. Okay, so let's dive in and start with Kandy again. How do you identify, locate what needs to be healed if you don't know what the cause is?
Well, first of all, the person appears. You got to show up. So it's the body for me. So I feel very blessed to the innate skills that were developed through numerous years and studies and travels and teachers and experiences to actually be able to be with a body, your own body, and invite you to know that, as well as what I see and I feel and I hear, and I use the senses. And so it's, to me, the container you bring forth. We can get into story. Great. You want to never leave out your story. But it doesn't even have to be talk. A lot of times we use talk only because it's important to get your mind involved, that thinking mind. So you don't want to leave anything out. But really, it's here for me, that it's everything inside of you, everything we've talked about lives here. Every event, every injury, every joy, every sorrow, every movement, that's part of this whole, the levels of awareness we have, they all live here. So I approach it by how you sitting, how you standing, how do you move, how do you not move, what do you feel in your body, do you feel your body? So it becomes I'll use the word pragmatic. It's a four-dimensional reality, distance, height, width, and time. That's how we live on this planet. And within those four, you're going to have everything else, because this is alive and this is where you're living. It's your home. So everything's there. It's kind of like your house. If you live there for 50 years, everything's there. Hopefully some of it moved out, but pretty much, you know how you keep things? Because that's there for you. Different here because there's not like a choice of, oh, I don't think I'm going to keep that picture of my mother anymore. Oh, I've got it. So I need the physical part. It's always here. So that would be the direction.
Okay. So one of the things that I think is very, very fascinating to me, because it works with me in my own body, is I was given a diagnosis of osteoporosis, borderline, years ago, and I found food healing for that. But my bones seem to be having something else going on, and that's a curvature of the spine, scoliosis. So for me, it was, wow, can I find a way where I can unwind some of that? I'd like to be a couple of inches taller, thank you very much. And I want my body to age well, because there were some things beginning to happen that were going to impact my movement, for example, and my dance. And I didn't like that. So Kandy came into my life. And there are some amazing things that have been revealed to me in my own healing with this. And Kandy has helped to unleash that, to help me understand being embodied. That is a word that I really have a much more conversational relationship with now than I used to. And I am taller. And there are sections of my body that just immediately released. Emotional release can happen with massage. Emotional release can happen with releasing past lives, can happen with energy healing, can happen with prayer, can happen with theta healing. All of these things can indeed change us physically. And did you know that people who have rods put in their back, the titanium rods, you would think that those would stay straight, right? No, Kandy and I went to a workshop a few years ago and saw some women who had these, and they had bent them. The muscle tension that did not shift and change because the underlying rationale for the subconscious protecting that person kept leading them back to that same posture and bent the titanium. Good grief. We are powerful.
And just on the other side of that, if it's that powerful to bend it, it's also that powerful to heal it itself. So the amount, I might have used the word miracle, magical, this is all we have to work with. Not that we can't use our mind and we can't go to other energetic things, but I come home here because this is where it all happens, as far as your life on the planet this time around. And so that the idea of using the physical body as the way in is my way. And every other story you have may show up. It may just heal spontaneously. You may know the story. You may then I've been letting people go, oh, that makes me think of, and they draw the dots. It's like you remember dotted artwork? Okay, so they draw, and then they draw the lines themselves, go, I never have realized that particular piece relates to this little piece. And wow, with that one, wow, that one too. I never thought of it that way. You have a new thought. Hopefully every day. Okay, and that's what changes. Yeah.
And thoughts are creative, as we know. Okay.
What would you attribute to the healing? Is it positive mind, prayer, spiritual intervention? What?
Magic, miracle, mysterious life on this planet that has lived everywhere, forever time, unknown, how old, how young. Yeah, that's we're spiritual beings having a human experience.
Right, and we will get into that subject more in the next question too. So we will get into that, I promise. Okay, so Miss Cheryle, how do you identify and locate this issue that may need to be healed when you're not sure what it is to begin with?
Okay, we're not actually doing right now how we go about doing it ourselves.
Just how do you identify and locate?
The identification of what those underlying beliefs and thoughts are is extremely important. And what you might think that the underlying thought is, I would suggest that you find a way to go deeper and deeper, because underlying beliefs are masters of disguise. Now, I'll give you a little example. I worked with a woman who's a coach herself, and actually is doing quite well now, but she was bringing in money in her coaching business. People liked her. They were going to her, and she had this thought in her head that as soon as I have a $10,000 month, I will be good. So she has a $10,000 month, and she did good for a little bit, and then all of a sudden she realized she had spent all the money and she didn't have it anymore. And she started recognizing this pattern. She's like, I know I want to have money. That's my underlying belief. Yeah, she did, except that when she dove deeper, and she used EFT to do this. I've never been very good at doing EFT, but she used EFT. And what happened was she got to this underlying belief finally that was, rich people are jerks. And she said, and I didn't want to be one. So every time she got a hold of this money, her subconscious was like, oh, no, you don't want to be a rich person, better spend it, get rid of it. So dig down until you find what the real underlying belief is. And then the way that you need to work on it is you need to change the perception of however you got that belief to begin with. If it came from one event, if it came from a series of events that finally got you rooted in this really core belief that rich people are jerks, you need to change your perception of rich people. You need to actually seek out, okay, but are there rich people who do really good things? That's what she had to do. So you have to change the perception. And the key is once you change the perception or the picture of it in your mind, then automatically the feelings that were connected to that original picture slip off and your feelings change. And when your feelings change, how you react and your behavior changes also. So it still follows that same line. And I just want to say, I know we're going to get into how we do it with clients, but everything that you're hearing up here, it doesn't matter what kind of technique each of us are using. Every technique is connected because they are dealing with, getting at the subconscious mind and changing that belief so that you can move on and have the healing.
Yes, great, awesome. So there's a lot more to the location for each one of these people, but you're beginning to get the idea about how this could work, maybe even for you or someone you know. So continuing on, Miss Denise.
All right, a whole different perspective. So I would say that the New Thought, joyful theology would say that there's nothing to be healed, only wholeness to be revealed. There's nothing to be healed, only wholeness to be revealed. All form is a function of consciousness. Your body is the result of your consciousness. Your pocketbook's the result of your consciousness. Your love life's the result of your consciousness, conscious and subconscious. So if you want to change anything, if you want anything to look different, then you have to change what you think. You have to change what you think. Now, you can't change the subconscious because you don't know what's in there, really. The only clue you have is, I remember one time I was young, I was 22 or 23, and I was married, and I was in my kitchen fixing a tuna sandwich for my husband. I don't know what he said, but before I knew it, I threw the tuna at him. The whole bowl. I had tuna on everywhere, on the ceiling, on the floor. And I remember at that time going, wow, okay, where did that come from? Like what button got pushed, right? So we know that whatever's in there, the only way we know what's in there is by looking out into the world, whether it's personal or collective. You know, when we look out into the world, we know that we could all use a little more love because we still have war. When we look out into the world, we just know, you can see the effect. So form precedes from consciousness. Consciousness creates form. The father of New Thought, his name was Phineas Quimby, he said, mind is matter in solution, and matter is mind in form. Really saying that the outward picture of conditions, circumstances, and things is a function of consciousness, of thought. So I just want to say, for me, that the biggest shift for us is to become conscious seed planters. So that when you have a choice to be angry, you choose to be happy, or you choose to be forgiving, because you know that that anger has an effect on your body. It has an effect on your circumstances. But that takes a kind of a willful consciousness. Otherwise, the subconscious is just in charge. So I'll leave it there for now.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. And Patti, so how do you locate this issue and then begin moving on helping someone?
Okay.
Finding that cause is really the basis.
Yes. When people come in to see me, whether they're coming in because they're physically sick or they are having an issue in their life that's not working for them, whatever it is, I begin by saying, how can I help you? And from there, I do a fairly in-depth interview. And the interview is really important because they are bringing this emerging pre-conscious out of their subconscious and onto, my floor, whatever, but they're bringing it out. And it's there's a skill that we learn, and I actually learned way more in learning theta healing than I ever did as a psychotherapist in how to do this. I think as a therapist, I thought I knew, I could analyze and yada yada. And instead, I tend much more now to listen and to really dig and to get the layers of the proverbial onion, to get deeper and deeper and deeper through asking particular questions, so that I'm able to get to what is causing, what's in there that's causing these problems. I also, if someone is physically, like if they come in and they have a heart defect, for example, or cancer or whatever, I will use the same kinds of questions, but get to the beliefs that underlie that particular health problem. And it's very individual. There are some themes, we generally say if it's the heart, it's love or whatever, but it's very unique. And I have to just say, I did have a mitral valve prolapse, and by the time it was diagnosed, I had 6 months before I had to go back to have it rechecked, and it was gone. And it is impossible to reverse it without surgery. So I had to do some serious digging. Okay, what are the beliefs in there? And clear them, which I was able to do. But in terms of assessment, I also, I communicate with Creator. I communicate with my guides. I'm psychic, which is a skill I've developed, which is very helpful. But again, I would rather hear what you have to say and then validate it. Or if we get stuck, I can cheat. So let me just check in, ask Spirit. But it's a teamwork, really, between you, me, and Spirit, that we're able to identify what really needs to be dealt with. You can, in Theta Healing, you can clear all kinds of stuff, but I'd rather clear as deep down as I can go, because that makes the biggest difference in your life. I also, let me just think, I was going to talk about something. I muscle test, that's what I was going to tell you. That's kind of interesting. In muscle testing, you are allowing your body to show you if something is true or not. And I will have the belief that let's say we've picked one belief that I am helpless, and so I'll have you muscle test. And if you get a yes on it, then your higher self is telling us, yes, you do believe that. Then I will clear it using Theta Healing, and I'll talk about that next. And then we muscle test again to validate that we got it. And if we didn't get it, then we do a little bit more work. And when we're digging, what is it that's holding that belief in place that we're not able to clear it? So those are my assessment strategies.
Great, a nice list of things that you do. So that was wonderful. And you know what I like too about what you're saying, Denise, is your message is really on point. It's such a clear message for people from the spiritual perspective to be aware of what they're essentially creating in the world, consciously and subconsciously. And something else that I know to be true, when we repeat something and we begin to actually believe it, it changes our blood chemistry. It does hit us at a physical level. It changes blood chemistry. Think about it. My husband's always telling this story. So if you almost had an accident, you almost fell down the stairs or something, you feel that adrenaline rush, right? You didn't just think, you felt. You had an emotional reaction. You had chemicals that reacted and went through your bloodstream, lickety-split. The same can happen with gratitude. And you can build that gratitude muscle by prayer work. You can build that. So, I mean, look at the richness that you have up here. Wow, I'm just, thank you, guys. So the third question is, how do you approach the actual healing? So, Kandy.
It's a combination of some of the things you've already heard, and that's the beauty of experience and longevity that all of us have here. And I'm hearing this like, oh yeah, I do that, I do that, I do that. The main thing, as I said, is, I mean, I can also do it on the phone, but I always want to do in person, because that validates sight, sound, smell, taste, feel. Because that is, again, how we experience our life, is on a very physical way. And so part of it will be that I have to be in that place. So a lot of my work comes from my personal work. In other words, if you're going to come for something, whatever your story is of why you might seek me out, then I'm going to be in a place that I can hear it, I can connect higher, I can get out of my own way, so it's not about my personality going, oh, I think, but there's going to be a container I've set for you to enter, because you have your container that doesn't have all the parts you want, or you wouldn't be talking to me or anybody here. You're seeking something out. There's something, and I have to agree with what Denise said, is that, there's nothing to heal. There's nothing broken. You don't need to be fixed, which, of course, that doesn't make any sense, because I've got this pain that needs to be fixed. But the fact is, I have an occurrence that needs to be dealt with. That's what you can do every day. You have to wake up in the morning. There's something that you have to do. It's not always a bad event. Going to bed may not, So the fact is, it's showing up. So I say, first of all, is I bring you my personal work and where I intend to be to serve, because it's about serving. And then I don't see anything wrong or broken. I see misalignment. I see things out of place. And it's energetically, physically, mentally, emotionally, because they all show up again here. So there's the approach of how you sitting, and I'll go back to that a little bit, but a lot about the breath. So the yoga background I bring is a lot about the spiritual nature of you manifesting. So it's how you breathe. So generally, that's one of the first things I address is how you're breathing. Alignment, what's your container doing? Does it have the breath possibility? Are you sitting in a way that it lets you do that? So there's an alignment assessment, and then there could be, depends on if you're on my table or on the floor, because I do both mat practice, mat work, as well as table work, or both. And so it becomes then again your agenda, as others say, what is it you're seeking? It's not about what I know or I see. It is really about your intention. So you set up like a contract. And so all that goes on, and that's all part of the healing time, the time together, is that it's like, you know, you're coming into my encyclopedia. You've got yours. And so it's where do we need to work to make that both encyclopedias enhanced to work for what it is you want. So if it's a table session, whether it's touch work of massage or energy work, or it's movement work on the mat, which can also happen on the table, it's very eclectic. It really is designed to offer every tool that I have for what it is can get you to the place you want to be. And you may not know that when you walk in the door, which is also happened. You're just like, oh, I just want to see somebody. That comes from enlivening yourself to know what resonates. You got 5 people up here that all do work, and not everybody out there is going to go, I want her, I want her, I want her. And that's the individuality that we want to encourage, is that the tools I bring, which are the yoga world, the massage world, the energy world, the spiritual world, that's my work. It also matters you, and you're a co-partner in the whole process. And also what you do afterwards. It's not what you do in the session or like, oh, Kandy, you're so great. I just, I can't live without you. No, that doesn't work. I'm not going to be able to live with you in your house every day. So it becomes, what tools can you then go home with? What are you responsible for in your world? To provide some insights to that will help you continue what it is on that journey that you experience through me, with me, in a spiritual way, in a physical way, in a mental way.
Thank you. Okay, Cheryl, let's get into it.
I was getting engrossed in what Kandy was saying.
I know.
What I like that Kandy said, and I think the rest of us are saying too, is my technique that I normally use with my clients is past life regression. However, it's not for everybody. I do some other techniques too, which I'll talk about, but I think the key is, in order for any technique to work for you, you have to find the one that resonates with you, and you have to have at least some belief that it's possible it could work, because if you don't, it won't. So having been a therapist, I know that you can work with somebody for years and years and years, and then they finally gain insight into where this all came from, but the hard part is that the insight does not bring healing. Then you have to do all sorts of things to help them clear that and the healing. Why I love past life regression, and I know it sounds like a woo-woo thing, but believe me, it's not. Oh, there's a rabbit out there or something. I got a squirrel, got distracted. Past life regression, all of the techniques that I use are what we call person-centered techniques, in that I don't read your past life for you. I use some techniques to help you get relaxed enough, and yes, there is a hypnotic induction, but it's so that your analytical factor in your brain is kind of calmed down, so it will allow the stuff from the subconscious to come up, because you truly have everything you need to heal in your own subconscious. You may have to find, or your mind will find on its own, new ways to put the pieces of all those things together to come up with a new solution to what you're looking for. But I know that a lot of people will say people don't care about the process. All they care about is how you can help them transform. And I don't think that's entirely true. You have to believe in the process in order for it to work. So with past life regression, whether you believe in past lives or not, I do, but even if you don't believe in them, if you allow yourself to just accept everything that comes up from your subconscious, whatever story it happens to tell you, know that that story is being created for you for a particular reason. And when we do the past life regression, people can always tell me, we do use a focus. You have to know what it is you want to change, what you're having trouble with, and we go back to that past life. But then you do discover what the lesson was you learned in that life, and additionally, how it connects to your current lifetime. And even if we don't do the guide work in that session, because some people aren't ready to connect with their guides, even if you don't do guide work, it does help you heal. I can't tell you how that happens. I don't know, but I think it does have something to do with you're looking, maybe there's a situation in this life that's really hard for you, and to sit there and relive that trauma and sit there and tell me is hard. But if you can look at it at a life that you think is already over with, it's not as difficult for you to look at it. And you will change your perception, and when you change the perception, you release the emotional charge on whatever issue it was.
There's the power. Yeah, it's releasing. And boy, does our subconscious know how to hang on to that. So you truly require someone to assist you. In Cheryle's case, she has a new recording, brand new. It's on the Gulf Coast Meditations Abundance album. And she takes you through a past life archaeology sort of situation in quite a magical way. So I encourage you, it's not going to be over at the booth there. And Kandy has some CDs, I believe, at your booth on breathing and more. The chakra CDs start with about a 3-minute, I think, introduction by Kandy about the chakras that is just magnificent. So these are such high quality recordings. I think I'd love everyone in here to have at least one of them, if not all 3. There are 3 of them out now, and 2 more to come. Okay, so Miss Denise, so let's get into with you. How do you approach this healing?
Well, I would say that the restoration to wholeness in whatever area you're looking for wholeness begins with believing it's possible. That if you don't believe it's possible, it's not possible for you. So for me, that kind of blends in with faith and trust and an intelligence greater than you are. You didn't make yourself, that you are surrounded by an infinite intelligence out of which you have been created, and that's available to you at all times. There is nothing in your life that has been so tragic or so permanent that it can stop you from your restoration to wholeness. You know, Miguel Ruiz wrote a book, The 4 Agreements. Have you heard of it? And he talks about the domestication of humans, right? He talks about how here you pop into existence in this form, kind of a clean slate, though there could be much conversation about how clean that slate is. But in general, we then learn everything. Our parents tell us what's right, what's wrong, what's good, what's bad, and we find ourselves as adults believing that we're right about everything, right? So part of healing begins with recognizing that we are more than this. I am more than this, that this is possible for me. Now, conscious seed planting, I'm going to come back to that for a moment because I love the garden analogy, because in your subconscious, you know, there is a garden in there. And for many of us, that garden is full of weeds and things that we didn't plant ourselves, that they got planted for us, and that you can, by awakening to this higher part of you, because I believe that your conscious mind is also part of divine mind, that whatever that means to you, but this intelligence operates in you and through you, that we can begin to plant seeds of love, or plant seeds of prosperity, or plant seeds of peace, or plant seeds of healing a physical issue immediately. And there are a couple ways, well, there are many, many tools. Prayer, of course, affirmative prayer is for me the most powerful. Prayer works. I've seen it so many times. It is irrefutable evidence that my mind and your mind are connected in some mysterious way. Affirmations, vision boarding, masterminding, all kinds of positive affirmative ways to begin to pull the weeds and to plant seeds of something else that you want to. Because remember, the subconscious is creating. So we want to make sure it's creating what your conscious mind is telling it and not what it got told when you were a child or many lifetimes ago. It doesn't really matter. I would also give you a couple of practical things to do. One is I would try to lose the word because in your vocabulary. So I would stop saying, I can't get the job I want because that's planting a seed you don't want, and it's reinforcing a seed that's already there. The other trick I would give you for becoming an architect of your own subconscious is to watch how you use I am. So if you say I am sick, don't say that ever again. Say I am well, even if sick is revealing itself, because form precedes consciousness. Consciousness precedes form. And I would only tell your story one more time, and then try not to tell it too many more times, right? Because you want to write a new story. And if I had more time, I would tell you the story I rewrote, but you can write a new story through your conscious, awakened consciousness.
Awesome, awesome. Thank you. Everybody take some notes on those great tips. Okay, very good. Well, Patti, let's take it home here, and then we'll be opening up for some more questions. So keep your minds awake out there. What are those questions? What are the things that you're wondering about? Go ahead, Patti.
Okay, so my primary modality, I am a spiritual coach, and I do intuitive counseling, essentially. But the main modality I use now is theta healing. Once I discovered it, I kind of went bananas. It was like, this is crazy. I actually said, this is crazy. For so many months, I had to stop myself because it was just magical, the way people could transform so rapidly using it, having done it the old-fashioned way for so many years. So what is it? It's an energy healing modality. It's very different than a lot of the modalities that we know. I've also studied Reiki, for example. But in this modality, the practitioner goes into an altered state of consciousness, which is the theta brainwave state, which is the state that your brain is in when you're dreaming. And in that state, I connect with Creator, and it's much like a prayer. I invoke healing, and I witness it. So it really, truly, I see it as a form of prayer. It's a prayer that manifests really rapidly if all the right conditions are there. And the biggest condition is, do you believe that right now you can just be rid of that? And a lot of people are, no, it's harder than that, right? But it can be very miraculous in how rapidly it works. So in doing this, I'm targeting, I mentioned earlier how I kind of dig and try to get deeper and deeper into that onion. And we end up often in a session with maybe 10, 12 beliefs, a number of different themes or programs that are holding the person back and limiting them. And we target those by muscle testing to make sure they're right. Then I do the invocation. I witness the healing. And then I come out of trance so I can function again, sort of. I'm always a little woo-woo after I've been in trance. And then I muscle test to make sure. So that's kind of what a theta session looks like. I do other things as well. I often do clearings. So I clear dark energy in the aura. I clear dark entities. I can go remotely into your home and clear your home of stuff if there's stuff there bugging you energy-wise or spirit-wise. And I will often work with energy to clear your chakras and bring light in and send you off feeling really happy. I think that's
pretty much a
I think
wrap
that's
there.
it.
Okay.
Yeah.
So I just want to reflect back on some other things I'm hearing. First with Denise. How many of you have said this phrase? That, whatever it is to die for. That chocolate cake is to die for. Oh. Now, we're talking about, what are we talking here, Denise? What are we talking about?
Well, it's not that every single conscious thought manifests. So I think it's better to die for a chocolate cake than it is for almost anything else. But it does, we have to, part of being awake is to be the gatekeeper of your own consciousness and to watch what goes in and to watch what comes out and to take responsibility for it's no different than taking responsibility for what you eat, right? You take responsibility for what you think. But again, I think we all agree, you have to believe that change is possible. Because people, and I know I say that like, well, obviously, if you come to me and you're wanting to experience more prosperity, that you want more prosperity, right? And of course you believe you can have it, but I'm going to tell you that if you believed you could have it, you'd already have it and you wouldn't need anybody. You wouldn't need to change the way you think, because what's out there is a reflection of what's in here. And as that idea makes me want to throw up personally, because then you can't blame anything. Ever. You have to stop blaming your parents, you have to stop blaming God, you have to stop blaming your teachers. Then it's just like, wow, I can change my life by changing my thinking. Is it really that easy? Or I can change my life through one powerful prayer. Is that possible? And it is.
Awesome. And then I just have to add, because it's really so much in my mind with this, the power of our words, that I now say that chocolate cake is to live for, because then consciously I'm putting good thoughts into my body, and hopefully that chocolate cake has the components that me as a food healer would appreciate, and they're, gluten-free would be a start for me, but many things would come into play. And go ahead.
I have a great example.
Okay.
I was teaching a class in Northwest Arkansas. It's a foundational science of mind class. And at the end of this class, this gay couple said to me, as a result of the class, we just did something really great. And I said, what? And he said, we changed the name of our emergency fund. So they had a bank account, which they called their emergency fund. And they realized that if you have an emergency fund, guess what you have to have? Emergencies. So they changed it to their vacation fund. Really smart.
Oh, isn't that great? I love it.
Deb, can I add one more thing here?
Yes, please.
I believe that all of us now have used the word change, if I've been listening, and that change is possible, and there's a belief thing. But again, if you don't change something on a physical level, it becomes a little more tricky. So don't move. Oh no, now everybody wants to move. Notice your position you're sitting in. Notice your breath. Okay? Now, notice your breath. Notice your position in your body. Okay. Now, change in order to get, because everyone's talking about change. There's a change of energy, change of structure, which precedes which. So how do we believe change is possible? I'm going to invite you to change your position you're sitting in. You're going to put both feet on the floor if they're not. You're going to sit back onto the chair so that whatever the chair offers in comfort or support, you find it, so that your back is touching something. Now, you don't have to look at me anymore, because I'm not going to do anything that you have to see, but maybe your eyes pretty much lined up with your sternum, so some of your body's catty corner. It's okay. We won't be insulted. You're not looking at us. We know you can hear us. All right. What changed? Anything. If you notice any change when you just change your body position, because every one of you changed your body.
I can breathe more deeply.
Change the breath. More relaxed. The back was hurting, there was pain, now it's better. Notice the breath. The change is so easy. and basically all they're talking about, that's what you're going to continue. You want something to change, and it's like you've got that power already built into your body. When you were born, you don't look the same way you do right now. I'm sorry. Okay? Amber is. At 5-year-old pictures, you look at yourself. You've changed. Oh, you can see there's a little bit of eyes still there, but you've changed. We are built for change. Our body can accommodate. Resiliency is built into us. We take it for granted. So everyone here is talking about change. Most likely you're looking for some kind of change, is that you can. It's not a should. It's going to happen. It's not quite a have to, but you are not going to be. When you pass out of this body, you will not be an embryo. You will have changed into the form that at that point, when you take your last breath, you will have. So it's just that idea of accepting that it's okay. You are changing right now, moment by moment. It is really that simple. I didn't say it was easy, but it is simple.
Thank you, Kandy. Any other questions as we're wrapping up the substance from here? Yes, Pam.
What about the feelings associated with the thoughts?
What about the feelings associated with the thoughts, these creative thoughts we've been talking about?
Well, just briefly, the feelings are everything. So the more feeling, the more creative power.
Yes, go ahead.
And I was going to say too that we're striving for elevated feelings. It's elevated feelings that enable us to manifest. And when I'm in the altered state and doing the healing, I am in bliss. And that bliss is what enables the manifestation of the change to happen quickly. But for the individual, in Theta healing, we can install feelings that the person's never had before through a healing. I use the term healing, and I hesitate to use it, but it's called Theta healing. But so it's kind of hard to avoid. But actually, creator, or this force or energy or whatever you want to think of creator as, actually creates anew. Doesn't heal, it creates anew, so that the belief that is pulled out is gone, and new thoughts and emotions are created anew. I don't know if that answers your question, but with any belief, just from basic psychology, any thought or belief will create an emotion. Like if I'm sitting here thinking I'm really anxious, they're all staring at me, I'm going to be nervous and I'm going to be forgetful. I'm going to have a belief and then a feeling that is not very nice. If I'm thinking, oh, yay, I get to share what I love, then I'm going to be happy and excited, and that's going to change my behavior to be hopefully a better presentation. Yeah.
Yes, and that's absolutely felt in the room. Our hearts can be measured with their impact 50 feet. We're all entrained in a heart field right now. Kandy, did you wish to say
I just
something?
want to add one more thing to that emotional thing. We're supposed to feel. We're supposed to have emotions. That's our humanness, not our thinking. They've made computers that can think faster than the human mind. It's a competition now. But I haven't heard of anything, unless somebody else has, that they've created something that can feel, that actually has emotions. That is our magic. We are not supposed to not have emotions. We're not supposed to not feel bad. If we are angry, it's an okay feeling. If we're disappointed, it's okay feeling. You're supposed to have these. They come built into us to have these emotions. Now, what we're talking about is when they run amok, like we get stuck in one emotion. But if you can go back to what we're saying is that you're supposed to have emotions. You're supposed to have reactions. Otherwise, what are we doing here? It's a question of how do you handle them? And those are the tools every one of us is offering of the way we've found ways to actually deal with the fact that I want to feel. And I don't really always want to feel angry, but there are times I do. Why? Because emotion is emote. Emotion is emote. We're supposed to move with our emotions. They're supposed to move us to action, not just our thinking. But if our emotions have us stuck, that's what we're talking about. When you can't get out of an emotion or you feel like that one's taken over, the subconscious has come in and go, oh, this is the only one you're going to feel because everything's adding to that. But the first premise is we're supposed to feel. And they're all valid. They all move us to really wondrous things, or at least interesting experiences.
Yes, Pam, question.
So is it a case like in reception, what you do, you kind of put into the person who's needing whatever they need, the feeling of, no, it's not.
No, for me, it would be that joy is your natural state, and if it's not expressing, there's something in the way. So it would be about having you express innate joy, innate peace, to live from the inside out rather than the outside in, to be responsive rather than reactive. But that's not adding something to you. You already have it.
That goes back to the whole list. Everyone is whole, and here, everyone here has said, we have the tools, they're built into us. It's just learning how to use these tools sometimes, right?
Facilitators, that's actually
Facilitators. Facilitators. Yeah, beautiful, beautiful. Okay. Well, any other questions out there in the audience? Okay, going once, going twice. Well, we have some things that we'll be sharing over at the booths here in a moment. So I just wanted to give you a shot at hearing what is going to be the specialty or the special offer at each of the booths that is available over here after we're done. So Kandy, what is at your booth?
I have products, manifestations of my work, from 3 CDs, a pillowcase, and a book.
Yes, it's there.
That's it. Okay. I'm just thinking I have everything. And so everything will be $5 off, and we could probably deal from there too. I don't really need to take them home with me.
All right, very good. Thanks, Kandy. Oh, and by the way, where can people find you doing some of the things that you do, because you're all over the place?
Well, I have one location that I work out of more often than not, and that's actually Lotus Blossom Clinic. So that you can find me at Winkler and Cypress at the Lotus Blossom Clinic. I am portable. I do come to homes. I also can do it instantaneously where I am, depending on what the need is. So the fact is, we better in person, but I found out I can also do Zoom. I can do audio, but I really like the visual. I like 2 of the 5 senses. If I can get sight and sound, I can't smell you, can't taste you, can't touch you, but I'm really happy if I can get 2 out of the 5. So we can make it work for long distance, close by. But that's one location, and your home is another. And then workshops and things that I do around various places. The
Awesome.
website helps. Facebooking helps. Facebook. I've got
And
it.
it's
I have a
Love
Facebook
Works.
page.
Love
Love
Works?
Works is a Facebook page, and that has all my actions. And what? Because Love Works. Thank you.
All right, Cheryl.
Okay, so I wrote this down so I wouldn't forget. I do other things besides past life regression. Like I said, past life regression isn't for everybody, and you have to believe in what you're using as a technique in order for it to work. So the other things that I do is I do sessions called NLP parts work. That's a great technique for, it's neuro-linguistic programming, but it's a great technique for if you don't know what the cause is or what you don't know the underlying belief is, because what we do is work with your creative mind to either tell you or not what that underlying belief is, and it always had original positive intention. And then we ask your creative mind to come up with 3 new behaviors that satisfy the same intention as the old one, but new behaviors that don't harm your mind or body. And I've had really great luck with clients doing that. And it's more on the line of, an hour hypnosis session. And I also do something called structured unblocking, which is part of traumatic incident reduction, but it's he's cutting me off again over there. I'm replacing that husband.
He's running the timing back there.
No, I know. Okay, so the structured unblocking is actually a series of 20 questions that we go over, but it's all designed for you to bring, I just ask you the questions. All the information comes from your own subconscious, and you make all the shifts on your own. And it's kind of a really neat way to do things. Anyway, right now I am offering 20% discount on all of the things that I offer. I didn't mention before, I actually wrote a children's book. It's a children's book and a CD for children who have trouble sleeping. And it's on the same basic principles. It uses metaphor. And that is going to be $5 off today. I sell them for $20 because it's a book and a CD. So all you need to do is get my card, and I'll say for the people who are on YouTube, there's a contact form on my website. You can either look up CherylFreedman.com or PastLifeArcheologist.com. Those of you who are here can take my card. It has my email, it has my website, and as long as you contact me, we'll get you the 20% off on anything that I offer.
Awesome. Very good. Thank you. Okay, Denise.
I've moved down to Florida a year ago, and right now I'm speaking at Unity Churches and Centers for Spiritual Livings from Sarasota to Naples on Sundays, usually. But I also own a practice called Life of Power, Vision, Commitment, Congruence. And so I have business cards, and if any of you, I would just like to offer anybody a free 30-minute conversation if it feels like you'd like to have a 30-minute conversation. And if you get the card, my phone number and email is on there. On YouTube, can I just give them to it on YouTube?
Yes, yeah, well, yeah, sure.
Sure. Rev, R-E-V, as in Reverend, R-E-V, D. Schubert, Schubert @gmail.com. Thank you.
Okay, awesome.
Okay, I have a private office in North Fort Myers. I'm also at the Lotus Blossom Clinic a couple times a week usually. I run a Tuesday evening group there where we do group theta healing and guided meditations. I also, once a month, the first Saturday morning of every month, until I go north, I do a body-mind clinic at Lotus Blossom Clinic where I demonstrate theta healing and demonstrate the kind of technique that I use to determine the beliefs that are under the illness. So that's always fun. And I'm also doing, I teach theta healing. The course is called DNA 1, the basic course. I've got a course coming up in April, if you're interested. I'm also teaching that course in Barbados in May, and probably London, England in the fall. So if you'd like to travel. Yes?
Talk about the raffle here.
Oh, the
Yes.
raffle. The chamber is raffling off a raffle. The prize is the ability to come to one of these courses. It's the tuition, I guess, right, for the course. The tuition is $500, so it's a great prize. And you could do the course in April, or you could do it next fall when I'm doing it here again. I repeat it quite often.
$10 raffle ticket.
$10 a raffle. Okay, I should know that. Thank you. All these details. Don't ask me my website either. I have today bookmarks over there that are offering you 30-minute theta healing session for $30. You can extend that to a 60-minute session for $60 if you'd like. It can be over the phone. I work remotely. Most of my have clients all over the world. Or you can come in and see me. And I would love to do a demonstration if anybody wants to come and sort of try a little mini theta healing to see what it actually looks like. You can describe it, but it is really hard to know what on earth I'm talking about until you see it. So that's possible if we want to kind of gather at my booth after. I have a draw today. Don't forget this, another little mini draw. It's free. You can just fill out a little ballot and put it in, and it's for a free 1-hour theta healing session. Say two.
Wow, okay, so some great things to go to the booths and sign up for and experience. And there's so much more coming, and the Holistic Chamber and its members are very fruitful people. They're very active people out in the community. So we have a number of things coming up. This venue occurs every fourth Saturday at 2 o'clock. Different topics each month. Next month is de-stress. Who needs to de-stress? A lot of people. All of us can use some more techniques and some more awareness into that. So there's over there at the table where we'll get that in a moment, where Miss Maggie is setting. That's where you can go buy the $10 raffle tickets, and you can find the Community Education Panel Series flyers, so you can discover what is coming up. In March, it's called, thank you. It's called Natural and Effective Effective and Natural Ways to De-Stress is actually the title. Now, in April, does anybody know what's happening in April at the Crown Plaza with the Holistic Chamber? Barbara knows. Joyce knows. Okay, Heather, lots of people know. It is the Holistic Chamber Adventures in Wellness Health Fair. And that's going to be April 11th. It's an all-day affair. It has functions with the children as well. So there's a Conscious Kids Corner this year, which is really wonderful and brand new. There are 4 panels at that event. The first one is Conscious Parenting. The second one is Food for the Body Temple. This is kind of my thing, for those of you who've seen me or know me before, that I love to assist people in fueling their bodies with things that can reverse healing, or reverse aging, reverse specific kinds of illnesses can be helped. And I just love that. And by the way, Lainey Savante Wilkin and Joanna Salerno have just released, or it's actually in preview state right now, their Oracle deck for food healing. And that's going to be an amazing thing. So you can see she or me or others who are close to Lainey and Joanna Salerno to discover where to go to a preview party, because those are beginning to happen now. There will be one in my realm on Friday the 13th of March. So the others that are the other two that we're having panels at the health fair, in addition to 40-some booths, right? And food demonstrations, all kinds of things going on, activities out on the panel, the patio, we'll have panels inside. So we have the magic of meditation. That's an opportunity for you to learn more about meditation, different kinds of meditations. And the sound healing and music therapy panel will end our day with a real swoosh of emotions and energies and things that arise out of using music and sound healing. So lots of things going on. And then May, June, July, August, September, October, November, we cover all kinds of things. Environmental stressors, the diverse world of cannabis will be out there, essential oils, natural energy of herbs, intuitive energy healing, mastering the realm of Reiki. There's just so much coming. And so that's all coming down through the year. Now, that is through November on the 4th Saturday of every month. Where? At Unity of Fort Myers at 2 o'clock. Okay. And Friday, this Friday, we're still in the month of February. Who likes chocolate? Okay. There is a conscious movie being held at the Center for Spiritual Living in Cape Coral. That will be at 6 o'clock this Friday night. And it's from bean to bar. These are the flyers. They are chocolate colored. And there will be chocolate there supplied by Lotus Blossom Clinic. It will be organic and natural raw cacao in a melted form with some organic strawberries and that sort of thing. So come and join us for the conscious movie. There's an opportunity to talk with the filmmaker himself. Lainey knows him. Having come from the entertainment world in LA, she has a lot of connections. So join us there. And oh my goodness, the Ultimate Food Healing Retreat. This is happening in early June in Isla de las Mujeres. This is just off the coast of Cancun and barely an hour, I guess, flight away from the east coast of Florida. So for those of us here, this should be pretty easy. Some of us up here on the panel are going to be there. And it's 5 days of food healing and just immersing yourself in this beauty that's there. And the foods, the wholesomeness, the radiance that will be coming out of just eating those foods and hanging with these fun people and learning the various topics that will be covered at this event. So see us over at the Holistic Chamber booth for more information about the Ultimate Food Healing Retreat. And I think that's about it for the Holistic Chamber events. So other...
Beautiful. Look at the 7 colors. You're supposed to eat 7 colors.
Supposed to eat 7 colors, she says. And they're all there.
7 colors.
Yeah. I want to... Let's see. What's the turquoisey blue color? Well, I guess it's water. Yes, we should be having water. Yes, duh. Okay, well, thank you very much for attending, for listening in. Thank you to each of you, Patti, Denise, Cheryle, Kandy, for your sharing of all these decades and amazing experiences with people. Go see them, go to the booths, and we'll see you next time. Thank you.